Hi, so I am KB with Nerd of House. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well, doing well. You give such an incredible performance in this series. I really, really loved it. So my first question really is kind of what parts of Claire did you identify with the most? And did those parts of her and her journey kind of throughout the course of this series kind of solidify your need to be a part of this project?
Yes, there were a lot of moments where I found myself um, seeing Claire and seeing myself in those experiences. I think one of the biggest things that happens in her life is losing her mother. And I've experienced a loss at the same age that Claire lost her mother. And I just recognized that sort of earth shattering uh, yeah, loss and grief and how complicated those emotions are, and that life continues to move on, and you have to live through it with this new understanding of life. And so I that really resonated with me. And I think it's a beautiful exploration of that. I don't think that this series shied away from how devastating that can feel and how many different modes it pushes your people towards, whether it's self-destruction, whether it's, trying to hang on to a relationship. Claire tries to mother her brother in her mother's absence, and there's just so many different avenues that it pushes you down, and different parts of yourself that you have to find when you lose something so great. And I find when she spirals sometimes, I can definitely see myself in that way. I would like to think that Claire's a little bit more self-destructive than I am, but that might be looking too kindly on myself. So there's definitely a lot of this project resonated with me, and I felt really lucky that I could take the experiences of my life that may not always be, my happiest or best moments, but channel them into something that I think is, just a beautiful story and a beautiful project.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like I appreciate how human Claire is throughout the series. And I mean that in the sense that like she falls a lot, but there is also kind of grace in that. And she's trying to understand who she is, kind of, in the wake of this. Just, I mean, like the grief is just so heavy on her shoulders. She's really trying to figure out who she is and what she wants out of this life. And
Mhm.
what I do adore is that, even when we get to kind of present day Claire, it's still never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to do the things that you set out that you wanted to do to honor your younger self. So I really liked seeing that. But my last question really is, was there any collaboration with Catherine on kind of keeping certain parts, certain traits, certain characteristics from kind of young adulthood, which is your character, into kind of her present day self?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations, and we, did some workshops to sort of, I think the main, there wasn't so much to talk about like physical choreography or things like that, or like voice work really. I think there was certainly like I put some pressure on myself of like, please, Sarah, make this believable, like find something in you that people can hold on to. Like, yeah, that could become Catherine's version of Claire. But I think so much of it was thinking about the how their how their energy exists within them. How can it's she falls a lot, and there's grace in her falling, but it's not calculated grace. Like it's almost she. I feel like Claire a lot of the time expects things to go wrong, and maneuvers life with that sort of expectation. So I think in terms of Catherine and I finding collaborating on Claire, it was more about finding the energy and the instincts and where that comes and where she's motivated from, and how I think a lot of like recognizing that a lot of things Claire puts a lot of things in motion and doesn't realize that like things are spinning out until they have. Uh, and like that's sort of I think a cycle that she finds herself in, and being able to have conversations about that. And then personally, we would talk about just how we were feeling and what we were bringing to it in our own experience, and how when we would talk, even though we were talking about different things, there was this similarity there of and this commonality that I think we just had to trust was going to exist. And then just I was trusting people behind the monitors to say like, what was that? Or, keep going there, um, yeah, just there was a lot of trust and a lot of hope. And just, I guess, a lot of vulnerability. And yeah, I'm just, we'll see.
Well, listen, I am here to assure you that, the vulnerability definitely shines through. And you both did an incredible job kind of stepping into this role and dealing with, Claire's highs and her lows so brilliantly on screen. So just thank you so much for taking the time to chat with Nerdophiles. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, KV.